Hello, everyone.
You.
Huh?
I love you.
I love you.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry.
You don't have to say you're sorry. It's okay. It was my fault. So happy Thursday. Today we are going to do a video on shadow work. I did the pre-shadow work. I don't have a shadow work video. I could have sworn I recorded one, but I guess not. So we're gonna go ahead and do one today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the pre-shadow work to this video, and I'm going to link this video to the pre-shadow work. That way it's a one and done. So when we talk about shadow work, you know, I think that a lot of people look at it as, they see it as scary, shadow work. You know, when I first heard the term shadow work, I got a little scared because I was like, what do you mean shadow work? What shadow? Sorry, I have the hiccups. But I think deep down I knew it was about healing past trauma, and I was just scared of doing that. But you know, once I did it, I started doing shadow work. Around fall of 2023. So it's been over a year. And you know, once you finish healing your past, you're not done. You have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Because I have a scar here on my eye. Sometimes I mistake it for like makeup and stuff. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, you don't, once you heal all your past trauma, you can't say, oh, well, I'm healed. No. Because you're always confronted with negativity, with triggers, with people, with situations, right? With things that happen. You could be like all healed and stuff, and then all of a sudden, your car breaks down in the middle of the freeway. That triggers you. That triggers a negative response. You have to be able to calm yourself down and deal with it in a logical way, not an emotional way, right? So let's go into, there's 6 steps to shadow work. Let's go into each of them. So the first step is the event. What I typically do is I'll take a piece of paper and I will list every traumatic event that I can remember. And then the best course of action is to start with trauma number 1 and go through the 6 steps. And once you feel okay about that trauma being healed, then you move on to the next one. Okay? So the first event is a trauma, what you find traumatic. Don't ask other people, don't ask your friends, don't ask your parents. This is what you find traumatic. Even if everybody else says, oh, that's not traumatic, that doesn't matter what they think. It matters what you think. And this is where pre-shadow work comes in remaining an objective third party. Because you don't want to put yourself back into that situation emotionally, because it'll just, you'll be doing it for no reason. None of this will work if you put yourself back into that emotional trauma you are feeling. Okay? And this is a good way to try it out and see, have I been able to do the pre-shadow work properly? You know, when I think about this event, what emotions does it evoke in me? Does it evoke any emotion in me? Am I able to look at it objectively as a third party and not as a, you know, as a victim of the trauma? I'm not saying victim like that because I'm discounting your trauma. No. As we go through the shadow work, it'll become more clear why I say victim. So you chose your first event. So in order to work through this, I'll give some examples of my own. So like let me think of one. So, my oldest daughter's dad. The event. I came home from work. I was 8 weeks pregnant. I came home from work. I wanted to change out of my dress. And because it was cold, I was pregnant, I was tired, I wanted to wear something comfortable. So, my boyfriend at the time, he started pulling on my dress, tugging at my dress, and telling me, don't change, I love you in your dress, you look so pretty, we're going out for dinner, come on. And I was like, no, stop tugging my dress, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I want to be comfortable. And he kept pulling on. And so, instead of stepping back and saying, stop, I kind of launched back, and I was gonna hit him on his shoulder, but he ducked, and I ended up hitting him in the head. And so he turned around and he smacked me across the face. So that was my event that I found traumatic. Okay, so this is where the second step comes in. Why did it traumatize you? Okay, this is asking yourself, how did that event make me feel? This event traumatized me because. So in my case, how did it make you feel? Angry? I would say mostly angry, because I remember after he slapped me, at first I was silent, but then I felt the anger well up in me, and I actually reached for a bedside lamp and I was going to hit him with it. Not proper response, is it? Luckily for him, his mom and his sister were standing right outside the door and they stopped me. So this event traumatized me because I was pregnant. And I thought that this person was someone I loved. I was pregnant with their child, and they thought it the right response to slap me in the face. Now, that's why it was traumatic, because the person I loved, whose child I was carrying, thought it was okay to do that to me, which showed that he didn't respect me at all. Okay? I have another event that I think fits perfectly with this. So when I was 18, I was living with my dad, and I went out on a date with this guy. Well, I didn't tell my dad that I was going out. He thought that I had been kidnapped or hurt or something, and he ended up calling the police. So when I got back, he was on the phone with the police, and he was sitting at the dining room table. So I went and I sat next to him to talk to him. He was very calm, and he said, on the phone, oh, she just showed up. We won't need to file a police report. Thank you, and hung up. And he was really silent. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he hauled back and smacked me across the face so hard I fell off the table. And then he grabbed a log from the fireplace and started beating me with it. Okay, that was my traumatic event. Why did it traumatize you? Well, he's my father. I understand he was scared. But the fact that he was willing, he basically blacked out, and he could have seriously hurt me. And the fact that this was my father, and it traumatized me because he was the one person that was supposed to protect me and support me, and instead he could have beaten me to death. Sorry. Okay. See, you can see there I started getting emotional. Okay. Yes, it's emotional, but I'm grounding myself right now, right? Breathing, grounding myself. It's in the past. My father has passed on. I don't have to. But as an empath, as a sensitive, yeah, It's going to get to me. Anyway, that's why it traumatized me. So that's...
What happened?
I hit my wrist on the table. So that's why it traumatized me.
Well, stop hurting yourself.
Well, I'm clumsy sometimes. So, yeah. So next, we're going to look at what was
Hey, Mommy?
your... Yes, my love.
If you get hurt, then obviously makes me sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I love you.
I love you too, but stop hurting yourself.
Okay, I promise. What is your accountability? Now, this step is hard for a lot of people because I can look at the situation with my father and my oldest daughter's father and say, what accountability? I was the victim. I was the one who was hurt. Okay? But that's why we remain an objective third party. Because when we remain a third party, we can say, well, now you did this, self. And it's like, well, I did, didn't I? With my daughter's dad, instead of stepping back and saying, can you please stop? I would like to change. Instead of dealing with that situation like an adult rationally, I lashed out. And that's why if I wouldn't have tried to hit him, he wouldn't have hit me. That's where my accountability lies. With my father's situation, if I would have just said, hey, Pop, that's what we call him. Hey, Pop, I'm going out on a date. He's going to come pick me up and I'll be back by dinner time. Is that okay? Letting him know where I was going. If I would have let him know where I was going, would he have done that? No. And a lot of times it's really hard to stomach because it's like you're putting accountability on yourself. What do you mean what do you mean that was my fault? And it makes people seem like, oh, well, so you're saying I deserved it. No. Okay, that's the defensiveness. Okay? That's when if you think about it that way and you get defensive, you need to go back to pre-shadow work. Okay? Because this is not that is putting yourself back in the trauma. You don't want to do that. You want to remain objective. Okay? So once you've dealt with your accountability, you need to, whether you want to close your eyes, write it down, it doesn't matter. Speak it out loud. So 3 good ways: close your eyes and imagine it, write it down, or even do a camera to where the person in the camera is your past self. Okay? What do you need to tell yourself? This comes down to sitting that past version of yourself down, talking to them. What did you need to hear at that time? Tell yourself that now. Okay? For me, it was to tell myself with my dad, Caroline, you did not deserve that reaction. Okay? Your father is very unemotional. He's a toxic masculine. He's very unemotional. He's very cold. He grew up in very harsh conditions. This is all he knows. Okay? And I'm not saying to justify what he did. Okay? By telling you, look, this is why they did that, you're telling yourself, this is not a reflection of you. Okay? Self, this is not a reflection of you. This is a reflection of them. Don't feel like I deserved what happened to me. Because no one deserves to get that happen to him. Yes, if I would have told my dad that I was going on a date, it never would have happened. But his reaction to my action was completely out of the box. Okay? And that's not my fault. That's on him. Okay? And I have to tell myself, Caroline, you are beautiful and strong, and I know these bad things are happening to you, but they're happening for a reason. God's putting you through this for a reason, or the universe, or whoever. When things like this happen to you, it's for a reason, because in the future, you are going to be able to help so many people that go through this and are lost. So it's about telling yourself, soothing yourself, consoling yourself, lifting yourself up. This part can be really hard. I remember when I first did this, I did this. It made me cry. Like I was sobbing, and this was for an instance when my mom actually started hitting me for no reason. And so I had to tell myself, Caroline, you are beautiful and you are strong, and God has such a plan for you. And I know this sucks. I know this is, but it's part of the plan. And I just ended up bawling my eyes out. So yeah, it's shadow work. It's not just saying, oh, I'm just going to let that past go. No, there's steps, and each step is just as important as the last step. Okay? So after you tell yourself what needs to be told, next step is changing the ending. Now, I was told, oh, you mean gaslighting yourself? No, that's not what I mean. This is not gaslighting yourself. Okay? Because what you're doing by changing the ending is you're saying, you know what? Trauma, I've worked through you. I've exposed you to the light. And you know what? You are so irrelevant to me now that I'm going to just change the ending. Because you have no more meaning in my life. And I'm just going to change the ending to something beautiful and nice. Okay? It's not gaslighting yourself. The person who told me that said, you're just pretending it didn't happen the way it, yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm changing the ending because I'm saying, you know what, past trauma, you're so irrelevant to me. I'm just going to change the ending to something I want because you don't mean anything to me anymore. Okay? Because what that's going to do is allow you to release that trauma and say, it's not people who say that is gaslighting are people who are holding on to your trauma. They hold on to their trauma because that trauma, they identify with their trauma. That trauma makes them who they are. And when you do that, you're like, trauma, you don't make me who I am anymore. I'm a new person. I don't need you. Okay? And it triggers people that are still holding on to that trauma. So if anyone ever says, oh, well, that's just gaslighting, say no. You're saying that because you're unhealed. You're holding on to your trauma. You identify with your trauma. That's why you think it's gaslighting. Because the person who told me it was gaslighting is like, oh, I'm over my past trauma. I've left it behind. And to be honest, no, you haven't. I can tell. No, you haven't. I didn't tell her that because it's someone I love very dearly. And she had, it's just like telling an alcoholic that they need to quit. They have to be ready for it. Okay? Now, last step is, what did you learn from that trauma? What lesson did you learn? Well, let's go back to my two traumas with my dad. What I learned is that I must be honest. If I'm going out somewhere, tell them where I'm going. Be honest with people. Don't try to hide things from people. Okay? With my daughter's dad, what did I learn? Well, I learned not to lash out. I learned that if I get frustrated, to take a step back, breathe, stop the person from what they're doing, and stand in my truth and say, look, I could have said to him, person, daughter's dad, please stop doing that. I'm pregnant, I'm tired, I'm cold, I want to dress comfortably when we go out. Okay? Can you please stop doing that? And then deal with it another way. Okay? And then once you take that lesson out of it, you could throw the garbage away. It's like opening a box. You get a package from Amazon, right? And you take what you bought out of the box and you throw the packaging away, right? The item that you bought, This is the lesson. What it was wrapped in is the garbage. Okay? What it was wrapped in was the trauma, and you're throwing that away and keeping the lesson that you learned. There is under no circumstances you need to hold on to the trauma. Okay? Because by holding on, you're identifying with it. So there is no need for people to say your trauma makes you who you are. No, your trauma does not make you who you are. What you've learned from that trauma makes you who you are. People who are unhealed will come up with all kinds of semantics and verbal tactics to get you to realize that, oh, you don't need to heal your trauma. It makes you who you are. No, those are people that are keeping the conscious and keeping the conscious people, trying to keep them down. Okay? Because the more people that become conscious and healed, it's like the consciousness is going to grow and the unconscious is going to shrink. Okay? And it's going to be a matter of, 1 million to like 10. And it's like, we can't fight anymore. There's a resistance to growth because people like to wallow in their trauma. Okay? Instead of growing as a person, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, they like to stay down in the mud, right? So that was my video on shadow work. I'm going to be putting up here, or down here, I think. It's pre-shadow work for anyone who wants to learn how to do it. And then my pre-shadow work, I'm going to be linking this video to my pre-shadow work. So that was my video today on shadow work. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you ever need help with your shadow work, do not hesitate to email me. Do not hesitate to DM me on Instagram or TikTok. I will be more than happy to help you out. If you need someone to walk you through it, your personal traumas, let me know. I will be happy to do it for you. And free. I'm willing to give out my services for free because I believe, I've said it before, to me, it's part of our human rights to have, just because we're not conditioned to believe that we're spiritual beings, we are spiritual beings. Okay? So therefore, any services I have, no charge. Okay? If you feel called to, you can always send me a tip or a donation, but for the most part, no. If you need help, that's why I'm here, is to teach. Okay? And I'm willing to help anybody who needs that help to be better. So again, thank you for watching. That was my video. My information is down below. I was going to say, if you would like, personal reading, free personal reading, that's down below. Free help with shadow work. Just email me, DM me, whatever. But thank you for watching. Remember to live in and spread love, joy, compassion, gratitude, kindness, peace, enlightenment. Remember to have a beautiful day, week, weekend, month, year, life, and I will see you next time.